In last week's episode, we talked about the first part of hiring your first employee, figuring out what you need them to do, how to find them, and how to select the right candidate. Well, now you've done all that, and it's time to talk about the details of hiring someone. Hi entrepreneurs, I'm Vicky Brown, and you're in the right place if you want to engage your team, boost your business, and grow your leadership muscle. Now, once you've decided on the one, there are a number of things you'll need to put in place to be sure you not only are meeting your legal obligations as an employer, but also creating the best onboarding experience that you can for your new recruit. After all, you want your company to show up to your new team member as professional, personal, people-focused, and best of employer. So to do that, you have to have your ducks in a row and come across like you know what you're doing. And that starts with the written offer. Now, I know a lot of people talk about employment agreements, but I strongly suggest you stick to offer letters instead. Both an offer letter and employment agreement outline the basic terms of employment like hire date, pay date, title, job duties, etc. But an offer letter will also have an at-will statement that governs when and how someone can be let go, basically at any time for any reason. Now, in contrast to an offer letter's at-will statement, an employment agreement generally spells out specific reasons for termination. And that makes sense. Employment agreements are mostly reserved for those people that are at the very top of the organization, the ones you want to ensure will stay aboard for a specific period of time and not just give notice one day. At the same time, you will want to maintain the flexibility of at-will for most of your employees. So, once you've settled on the candidate, determined how much you're going to offer them in pay, and made a verbal offer, then you send them the offer letter. It acts as a written confirmation of what you discussed. Now, in addition to the offer letter, you should also send along the background check authorization. Now, if you haven't thought about background checks, I suggest you do them. And in many states, the offer has to be made before you can ask an applicant about some pieces of their criminal history. Now, since background reports often provide a wide variety of information, it's better to just make a conditional offer of employment and avoid the possibility of getting, dinged for a violation. A conditional offer is just like a regular employment offer, except it outlines that the offer is conditional on receiving satisfactory references, which may include a background check. Now, since background checks fall under the Fair Credit Reporting Act, there are lots of notices and disclosures that the person has to get. Don't worry, your background checking company will give these to you. You just need to be sure everyone you offer a job to gets all the forms every time. There are a lot more details around background checks, but if you want to do a deep dive, take a look at this episode. Once the candidate has signed the offer letter and background authorization, then you should give them the remainder of the new hire package documents. Now, different states have different requirements, but there are some documents that are federal, so they apply to all states. You'll need an I-9 form. Every employee has to complete this form. It confirms that they're authorized to work in the U.S. And believe me, the authorities are not shy about pulling your I-9s and auditing them. So make sure you get this done on time, within 3 days of hire, every time. Of course, there are the tax forms, both the federal W-4 form, and most times there are also state tax withholding forms. Now, it's important to have the employee complete both because each entity has their own withholding tables and categories. Then, there are things specific to your state. For instance, in California, some of the notices we have to provide include information on the paid family leave program, the specifics of workers' compensation rights, the time to hire pamphlet, and details on California's disability program. Again, different states may have different notices. Just be sure you know what they are for your location and that they're included in your new hire package. And yes, California employers can get details on what's required in this episode. And finally, don't forget important information about your company. The employee handbook, the list of pay dates, the holiday schedule, and time off policies. Remember, this is the time to give your new employee a solid overview of your company, what you offer, and what you expect. Now, once they start, it's time to get serious about onboarding and training. The goal of a good onboarding is to acclimate your new team member into the vibe, rhythm, and sensibility of your company, all while giving them the tools that they need to be successful. A good way to think of onboarding is as a 3-step process. The required stuff, the stuff that will make their lives easier, and the stuff that will help them succeed. The required stuff includes the mandatory HR documents, a tour of the office, introductions to the rest of the team, and training on their new job duties. Then there's the stuff that'll make their life easier, like an org chart, how to use the phone system, your security practices, what's the meeting cadence of the company and what's expected, what technology stacks does the company use, what's housed where, and how will they get it. And finally, a great onboarding process sets the employee up to be engaged and bring their best self to work from day one. That means you have to make sure they understand your mission, vision, values, and goals. And hearing all that, along with a welcome message directly from the head of the company, well, that shows they're not just a faceless number. They matter, and their contribution is important, and you understand that. Okay, onward to payroll. Yep, you will have to pay them. When it comes to setting up payroll for your company, there are 2 ways you can go. You can do it yourself, either using software or without software, or you can have someone do it for you, like your accountant or an outsourced service. Whatever you do, if you decide to do it yourself, use the software. It will help keep you on track and away from IRS penalties for non-payment of payroll taxes. Listen, the payroll process is way too complex to try to shove it all into this episode, so I'm going to refer you to my handy-dandy episode called How to Set Up Payroll for Your Small Business. So check that out for details. Now, there are other things you're required to have in addition to payroll. Generally, you have to carry workers' compensation insurance. You have to have either state-provided or private company-provided disability insurance, again in most states. And depending on your size, you may be required to have medical benefits for your employees as well. What? You aren't thinking about benefits? Well, I suggest you at least give it a minute or 2 of your time. It doesn't have to be too intense. All you need is a good group insurance broker. Now, this insurance broker will probably be different than your property casualty or P&C insurance broker, but they will be just as helpful. Your broker is paid by the insurance company, so you get their services at no cost to you. They can help design a plan that's right for your company, both company size and company culture. They can get quotes on what the various options would cost and manage the enrollment process for you. In such a tight labor market, don't underestimate the value benefits can bring when you're trying to land that ideal candidate. Now, of course, there are other things to think about for your new employee. When and how will you do performance reviews? What kind of training or development will you offer? Do you have a career path in mind? These are just some of the things that will set you and your new employee up for success. If you found this information helpful, please subscribe and share. And if you're struggling with how to get your business off the ground and what comes next, check out the Leader's Journey Business Builder. I designed this completely free video series to help you with figuring out who your customer is and where to find her, how to sell without selling, how to package and deliver your service, and much, much more. Check it out by using the link leadersjourneyexperience.com. And remember, your inspired leadership is the secret sauce to having a high-performance team and a wildly successful business you'll love. I'll see you next time on Leader's Journey.